International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUL for life. We are IUL.
Good evening and welcome to Today on One. I'm Maggie for Sierra. In the news tonight, LPM claims lawyer framed at National Council building. Lack of access to online education concerns youth educator. Vergenoeg community feels left out. Child with hydrocephalus in desperate need of assistance. And Roundup, Business on One, Comments Corner, Sports and the weather. Now for the news in detail. Utara Mutu, a landless people's movement politician, claims that the ruling cabal is attempting to frame a lawyer representing LPM leaders Bernardo Swartboy and Henny Sabeb for allegedly bringing a pistol to a privileges committee meeting. According to a letter from the lawyer, when they arrived at the National Council building, security scanned their luggage and found a pistol on the screen, but nothing when they emptied their bags. Lesson Waller has this report.
The desperation of the cabal ruling party, which is the SWAPO ruling party, because we know it's SWAPO that has done this, to frame a lawyer, a private citizen. This has become the last straw of desperation from SWAPO, and it's a shame. It's such a shame that they would go to such extremes to frame a private citizen who has nothing to do with politics. His only crime, according to SWAPO, is that he's representing us, and it's a democratic right to represent anyone as a lawyer.
Mutu read a letter from their lawyer in which they wondered if the bogus pistol wasn't supposed to be used to frame Bernardo Swartboy or Henny Sabeb.
Paragraph 7 and 8, and I quote, "Yesterday, during the hearing of the Supreme Court of Namibia, your counsel turned a various issue into our clients being a security threat to our members in the chamber. Are these submissions a coincidence, bearing in mind the above-mentioned events that transpired the previous day?" And paragraph 8 states, goes on to say that we wonder whether the fictitious pistol was meant to frame our clients upon attendance.
The LPM Member of Parliament also emphasized the ongoing harassment of their party members at the National Assembly by security forces.
Firstly, as opposition leaders and members of Parliament in Parliament, we are constantly at the checkpoints, as security checkpoints. We are constantly harassed. Firstly, there's some form of biasness that is given to the ruling party MPs as they are allowed. Sometimes they go through the security checks without even being checked. They just pass. They don't even sign in. But then when they see members of the opposition, they are stopped. That is unfair and unjust. In fact, this led to even some of our staff members, which includes Dominga Ndala seated here, where she was even followed by police officers until her office, and they were intimidating her. This is unjust and it's not fair. We have constantly told the Speaker, we wrote him letters, he ignored. This already shows the type of priority in which the Speaker, Peter Kashavivi, where he's pivoting to. He's mostly concerned with making oppositions looking bad, but not controlling his house.
The National Assembly responded that the allegations that members of Parliament were being framed are false, questioning why the matter was not raised when the lawyers appeared before the Committee of Privileges on Tuesday last week.
New Nivea Black and White Deo protects me and my favorite outfit. That's why I feel confident and free. With 5 times Deo Action formula, I stay fresh and protected for 48 hours, and my clothes stay stain-free. Try SA's #1 anti-stain deo.
Hello and welcome to the She Word, the show where we discuss trending topics amongst women across Africa. Girl, 7 years old. Do you know why you're here?
In 1997, I was filmed by an American news crew at the place I was being held. A shrine run by a priest dedicated to the worship of deities. I was labeled a Trikoshi, a wife of the gods, paying for a crime committed by a family member.
Okay. The purpose of sharing my story was to say, you know, you may have gone through something, a traumatic experience. You are still able to have life. You have life. You can live life. You can contribute to society, and that's what it should be about. It's not more. It's not really about like victimizing or because I honestly don't like watching it.
Youth development educator for the past 12 years, Antolika Hovases, has raised concern with the lack of access to online education for some learners, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds who do not have access to online education, which she notes has brought parents at a loss as their children are missing out on a lot of schoolwork due to prolonged school holidays as a result of COVID-19. Selma Tapopi has more.
Highlighting education adversities faced by learners during lockdown periods, Govases is now calling for proactiveness among stakeholders to ensure teaching and learning progress during lockdowns, further appealing on the urgent need to enable underprivileged learners access to online education.
I spoke to one headmaster in Komastau. I spoke to a teacher in Harta region. I spoke to a teacher in Erongo region. And to ask them, after last year, how was the schooling? This year, how was the schooling? Oh, in DRC, there was a burning. Some school books are demolished. How will these kids start from A to Z to come back to school if the school reopens maybe on the 4th? We don't know. But my thought in thinking is, I want them to get education that is needed. But the other thing coming in, we are talking now about smartphones. We are talking about booklets that the kids are getting. The booklets didn't work because sometimes the parents do the homework for the kids. Some parents even didn't bring back the books to the schools. The kids, all of them don't have smartphones. The parents even do not have phones because why must a parent get a phone who is a domestic worker? If it is not his boss that didn't maybe sponsor her phone. So that is the things that we, the poor people, are facing. But we need help. We need sponsors. We don't want to be poor. We want also to become rich, like the other people. I want to say this in Kwekokova. Please bring us in the middle. That is what it means. We don't want to overcome the others, but we also want. Stop mentioning us as the poor people. We didn't ask to be poor. And we don't want to die poor. That's why we want our children to get the best education also.
2 grade 11 learners who are facing the same adversities, Aquila and Wesley, testify that they have been affected by the lack of access to online education, adding that although their school notes are not updated, they have tried to catch up where they can, further backing the call for sponsorship of necessary learning gadgets for online learning.
We don't have smartphones for us to do e-learning. And then once we get back to schools, the kids that have the privilege to phones, they did their work online. Their work is on time, and us, we are left behind. And it's not like as if the teachers have the time to get back to us to fill the gap. And there is always a gap at schools between the rich and the poor kids. But then me personally at home, I try my best to fill in the gap, to fit in the group by reading books at home, by reading my old summaries that I did last year. But then not all of us can study on our own. We need help from teachers, from our fellow learners, just to boost us. We need motivation. Because at home, while I'm taking out my book to read, my mom is sending me to do this. I have to do that. And if I use the phone, we have to go charge the phone. And the people that we are charging the phones at, they look for money. And they are like, it's a $10. And then what if that's the only $10 we have at home, and there's no sugar, there's no bread, and we are hungry? And then we have to sacrifice it because it's for education.
When COVID came to our country, everything was shut down, like the schools. And then we had to go home. We were told to go home and then stay for a period of time. And then this online thing came up. So for me, I didn't have a phone at that time. And I told my mom to buy for me a phone, and I finally got a phone. But then now it was difficult now to get away and data every end of the week. Now that's costing money for my parents, because she's a domestic worker and it's hard for her to get that money every end of the week. And we used to get notes, but then now we don't get notes anymore. So I read my old books, but then it's not enough, because other learners who are having phones and who are always online, they are ahead of me. I think the government should make research. The government should go to like each learner's house and just check how they live. They can, provide for them tablets. Even there are phones that are cheap there, smartphones that are cheap out there. The government can buy and provide to those that do not have.
Governors also called on learners to also make use of the free time and opportunities available to them, urging parents to motivate their children and help develop their learning while at home.
Stand up and read. Read and read. Start writing a poem. Do something so that your brain must not go to sleep. And for the parents, let us motivate our children to study in this time that the school is no more. You know what? The other thing is, we think when the school was closed down for the COVID, we think we win. Because there is no bread money. There is no taxi money. There is no what that we are giving out. But on the end of the day, we are the big losers. We send the children to the farm, to the villages, and there is no books there. I started a kindergarten here, in this sitting room of mine. Because of the bigger children stay home, the parents took the children also back. If I met him here in the street and greeting, "Hi teacher, how are you?" I said, "Show me your head." Then they are searching, who is my head? What is my head? They forgot. Let the government do this to clean his name. So that if the child didn't do right, the government will say on the end of the day, I put my hands up because I do the best I can do.
Win free airtime with #LearnOn1. Share your comments on the lessons. SMS your feedback, name and town to 555.
Hashtag Learn on One. Invite learning in.
This is my favorite gear, cause it speaks for me and all my brothers. Nivea Men Black and White Deo. With 5 times Deo action to protect you and your favorite gear from stains. Try Nivea's #1 anti-stain deodorant. Nivea Men, it starts with you.
Hi, welcome to the program. I'm Debula. So let's get on the road with this. Having someone who likes what you like can be great. It gives you something to chat about and share with each other, yeah? But what if you both want to be at the very top of what you're doing and your main rival is your brother? Can you imagine?
Mount Nyiragongo, located in the Democratic Republic of Congo, is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. It's found in the Virunga Mountains and located 6 miles from Goma. So what caused Mount Nyiragongo to erupt?
This is Women in African Music virtual exhibition. It was created by the British-Nigerian documentary photographer Michael Tubes.
Women in African Music exhibition is about celebrating women behind the scene and women performing on the stage.
A representative for the Vergenoeg community, located on the outskirts of Okahanja, claims that the town council has neglected some of its responsibilities. He says many of the residents in that area still use bushes to relieve themselves. He feels the municipality is spending time on unimportant things instead of using the funds to fix the informal settlements. This report from Isai Sipunga.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
What is difficult?
Leader and spokesperson for the Vergenoeg community, Seth Garisep, says the Okahanja municipality has forgotten about the people from that area and wants the town council to make Vergenoeg's development a priority.
There in my location, there's a Oma. We're 75 years old. I will take you once you come there. She doesn't have her own place to stay. Must I die like that without my place? And what about my kids? They are having house allowance. They're having car allowance. I don't have a house allowance. My job cannot allow me to have house allowance. So, who is more important? They fix that road. After two years or after 3 months, rain come, the roads again open because they're not using even properly material to fix the roads. If they're just doing that same roads, same day, when they will come to us to finish our problem? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Garisep says he has written numerous letters to the Okahanja municipality requesting the removal of what he described as a boundary wall. He says the wall makes it difficult for them to go to the bushes where they either fetch firewood or relieve themselves.
They say it is for the safety, so that we cannot get access to go there for the road. Is a highway for the road. We used to go and fetch our firewood. Then we used to go in to help ourselves because we don't have toilets, we don't have power. You understand? So, but now they are closing there with the construction. So I did write a letter to the council in the CEO's office, and they didn't yet come back to me. But they are having resources with their kids. They are having toilets. They are having water at their places. And what about us?
Chairperson of the Okahanja Town Council, Carl Kutsier, says they are trying to address requests from the different communities. However, there are intricate procedures that need to be followed first.
We are currently trying to find ways to open up better ways to communicate with our community. But we've been so flooded and overwhelmed with historical issues that we've basically got our heads down on the grindstones and we are working, like I said previously, every single thing we need to go and find out the history. If someone comes to us and say to us, this land issue is 5 years old, we need to go and dig. What was the historical resolutions to that? Was that piece of land promised to various people? Is there anything untoward or questionable with the process, how they got it? Was that process fair? What is the legal process that we need to go through? How would this impact the rest of our community? What is the guidelines and what acts is relevant to this specific procedure that we are busy with? In the meantime, we've got to do that with a failing infrastructure. I'm sure anybody driving through Okahanya will see suddenly roads are being fixed, potholes are being addressed. Every single major issue that people have been screaming on, this council is addressing, but we can only address it at the tempo or the speed that legal processes allows us to go. We're currently still doing it with acting CEOs. And a lot of restrictions in place currently, like I said, with regards to COVID.
It has been reported that the area recently received water points inaugurated by the Okahanya Mayor Natasha Brunkman. Seth Garisep, although satisfied with the establishment of the water points, feels that there are more pressing matters that need attention. He says the 2 points meant for hundreds of residents aren't enough as it draws large crowds, which goes against the current COVID-19 regulations.
Diagnosed with hydrocephalus and excessive accumulation of fluid within the brain, 1-year-old Thomas Tangeni is in desperate need of medical assistance and support for daily necessities. Hendrina Kanyolo has this report.
The mother of 1-year-old Thomas Tangeni is living in agony after her baby was diagnosed with hydrocephalus, also known as water on the brain, at only 5 months old. The mother said her child is now 1 year and 5 months old, but he cannot sit or eat by himself.
Ungundi wamakwafelo mapu tunano ujuli hapa katuna shimaliwa soshpangelo katuna pa tukufa kapuni ilonga meme wakuya alongo tate wakuya alongo katunonele ya ukilila hapa atudi tulieke moka kololo okano kapumbwa ne utapumbwa makwafelo kulia ni jalwa no katemba komahangano litadrutalitunya mukula ile kwa Samaria anantima ngenda awatadruta etufilo ngenda.
Matthew said that they are really suffering because they used to depend on selling firewood in the location to buy milk and food for the child, but now there are hardly any customers, making it hard for them to earn an income.
Okwaya tuningongenda bala atudrua tukafie mumbo atimi hwa tukakikuni kapena sale customer dokulandu ukuni fio papa ikunyo ya ndubala pa kapena se customer igena denante katuna pa tukufomila mbo no sho kulya kwa kana sho simaliwaso shipangelo tapumbwane ekwafa kwa mahangano ngeta tuduru atufiro ngenda pamwe pango ilo katemba kwa kana no sho tu okulya ni jalwa nge pamwe esingwa tuduru atu ningirwapo.
They are appealing to Good Samaritans to donate some clothes and food for the child and a wheelchair, as the child spends most of his day lying down, which is uncomfortable at times. For those that would like to assist, can contact Today on 1 at 0811 66 1838.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
Why do we do it? Cover up, tone down, hide, instead of choosing boldness. Celebrate the skin you're in with Nivea Rich Nourishing. Our triple layered care of deep moisture serum, natural almond oil, and vitamin E enriches your skin for 48 hours. It's time to show off your best skin. Choose to wear your skin with pride every time with Nivea Rich Nourishing.
you can be tempted to become bitter and cynical. You're tempted. You're not there yet. Maar jy het besluit, man, die ding wat ek aangedoen is, gaan my verbitter, ek gaan my verbitter, maar so you feel to give yourself over to those emotions of becoming cynical and you can also be tempted to take revenge. Paulus sê, you have been grafted, julle is ingeënt in Christus. Wat Christus is, moet julle wees. Wat uit hierdie boom uitkom, ek is die ware wynstok, ek is eintlik die bron waaruit julle lewe. Dit moet in julle vrug wees. Julle moet smaak soos ek smaak, sê die Here. Kan ek 'n amen kry? Ek hou niks meer van julle terug nie. Julle is opgegradeer.
What's up, world? This is Shay, the goddess of the airwaves, on 99 FM, Monday to Friday, serving you breakfast on the ignition between 6 and 9. We brought you to be inspired, taking you to master your destiny. Now it's time to do the work.
Just show up.
Put on your work boots and do the time.
Make it, and then make it better.
Hello, world. It's your boy Script here on The Kingdom, where we're reminding you every single day.
Get up. You've got this. Start where you are.
Hey, this is your girl Treza on Hitsville on 99 FM, letting you know it's okay.
Try. Make mistakes.
Awesome.
I am Sibo, and I'm going to be with you for quite a while. Thank you so much for joining us here on your inspiration station, where we let you know
there's no easy money, there's no easy job, there's no easy life.
99 FM. Do the work.
In other leading stories, speaking at the launch of the Nampol Gender-Based Violence National Action Plan for the year 2021-2022, Major General Anne-Marie Nainda, Deputy Inspector General for Administration of the Namibian Police Force, noted that gender-based violence remains a priority crime because of its nature and the devastating impact it has on humanity. She noted that the development of the Nampol Gender-Based Violence National Action Plan is to enhance policing efforts with a view to improve responsiveness, expedite investigations, and accentuate collaborative and consultative interventions. According to Nampol statistical records, over 5,400 GBV-related cases were recorded in the 2029-2020 financial year, as compared to slightly over 2,600 recorded in 2020-2021. Nainda says that men are notably the main culprits in the commission of crime of GBV, even though a number of female perpetrators are also slightly increasing. The GBV Action Plan for the 2021-2022 financial year will primarily focus on awareness, targeting the number of GBV awareness education that should be conducted during each month and quarter, operations, targeting the number of operations that should be conducted by each region monthly and quarterly, training, targeting the number of members that should be trained per quarter on GBV investigations, as well as targeting the percentage of cases that should be cleared once investigations are finalized. And the Ministry of Sports, Youth and National Service launched the third National Youth Policy, which outlines strategies to enhance youth empowerment as a catalyst for achieving economic transformation and social cohesion for sustainable development. The policy was launched under the theme Mainstreaming Youth Development into the National Agenda. The policy seeks to significantly strengthen the government's capacity to engage the youth and improve its understanding of ideas. This is to ensure coordinated and holistic approaches on youth matters. The policy will also serve as an umbrella framework guiding the entire government as it intensifies its work for the youth across four thematic pillars of health and social welfare, education and skills training, economic empowerment, and inclusion and civic and political participation.
to be together again and play until the sun comes up. But until then, let's stay safe.
My brother, if she say no, she means no. Let's speak out against gender-based violence. Together, we can make Namibia a safer place for everyone. My Namibia, my country, my pride.
Let's cross over to Joseph Shufeni for today's edition of Business on One and Economic Indicators.
Thank you for joining us for today's edition of Business on One. I'm Joseph Shifeni. The annual 2020 Mining Review was held virtually this month by the Namibia Chamber of Mines. Highlights from the event showed that the sector generated over $30 billion for the economy during a time when some mines restructured and shared jobs as production and demand dropped, while other mining operators in the industry expanded. The annual event held on the Zoom webinar platform gave an overview of the performance of the sector. Participants included the Minister of Mines and Energy, Tom Alwendo, and staff from his ministry, Chamber of Mines leadership, and stakeholders from the industry. The Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Weston Malango, during his presentation said that despite downsized mining operations due to the pandemic, which led to low production for some operations and supply disruptions, the sector paid $5.5 billion, which is 15% of revenue toward government in taxes and dividends in 2020.
Total revenue to government, that is everything combined, corporate taxes and royalties, export levy, pay-as-you-earn, dividends, that comes to 5.4 billion Namibian dollars. And over the last 5-7 years, we've actually been consistent in paying totally over to government over 5 billion Namibian dollars. In this particular case, for last year, this constitutes almost 16% of the total revenue generated by the industry. The public is always wondering, there's always a discussion of how much stays in the country and how much goes outside the country. And we at the Chamber are proud to mention that over the years, 80% of what we generate stays actually in the country. For last year, this amounted to 74.8% of the revenue that we generated stayed and circulated in the economy, which is very healthy. In terms of contribution to GDP, Chair, last year, the industry contributed 10.1% to GDP, as compared to 9.4% the previous year.
The sector currently provides 14,000 direct jobs, of which 97% are Namibians. Malango said the year has been challenging for many, but some industry players continue to expand operations.
Namib Lead and Zinc is the only mine that really was placed on care and maintenance due to COVID pandemic. Because as I've just mentioned, the commodity prices plummeted. This is an operation, a small operation relatively, which was just ramping up at that time. And then, of course, the COVID regulations made it practically very difficult for this operation to continue with social distancing in a confined space underground, becoming very challenging. We lost 129 jobs as a result. On the other hand, Scorpion Zinc was also placed on care and maintenance in April. But however, this was not COVID related, because in any case, the mine was actually planned to be placed on care and maintenance in May. It was a scheduled shutdown in May due to the depletion of the ore body in the open pit. And then, of course, then safety concerns regarding multiple slope failures led to the early closure of the mine, and we lost approximately 1,700 employees. B2Gold commenced with the development of an underground mine, so the extension of the Wolfshag underground project at the Oshikoto Gold Mine. And the inaugural blast took place on the 30th of October last year. This is an investment of about 850 million Namibian dollars, and the underground mine is expected to commence operations in January 2022. Other developments, De Beers Marine made a decision to lay up the mining vessel Grand Banks from November last year to the second half of 2022 due to the supply chain bottlenecks and low demand for diamonds. And this was challenging as a result of COVID, and because then in the diamond pipe, the diamonds were not moving. And the main challenge was actually in the cutting and polishing industry, particularly in India, because every time the factories were working, there would be positive cases, and the factories would be forced to close down. So that disruption impacted us here in Namibia.
The Mines and Energy Minister said the contribution of the sector is significant to the economic development of the country and called for collaborative efforts that will ensure that it thrives.
With all that contribution of $33 billion to the economy, to what extent does it really improve the production capacity of the economy? Because that is really what it is, what we need to do. In other words, that contribution, does it really become a catalyst for economic development and therefore for increasing the production capacity of the economy? For example, the figure for local spend, that clearly strictly goes to the increasing of the production capacity of the local economy. And that's, I think, where we need to concentrate our effort as we go forward. So let me just again thank all of you who have made this possible. And as I said, we need to continue with our collective efforts to collaborate and coordinate to ensure that the mining sector continue to be an important catalyst for economic development and in the economy.
It was also mentioned that Namibia's investment attractiveness in comparison to Africa and the rest of the world has declined in recent years. Global commodity prices also dropped in the first half of 2020 and started to increase at the end of the year as economies recovered from the pandemic. That is all we have for you. Join us again next time, and don't forget to follow us on our social media pages.
Winter is here. Let's warm you up by giving you a chance to win one of 12 gas heaters and accessories, or a grand prize of 50,000 Namibian dollars. To enter the Winter Warmers competition, simply buy any combination of 2 or more of the following participating brands: Baker's, 5 Roses, Fresh Pack, Frisco, or Hug in a Mug, and SMS WINTER to 445. And remember to keep your till slip as proof of purchase. Promotions run from the 1st of May to the 31st of July. For more information and entry details, visit 99fm.com.na. T's and C's apply.
Are you a CMS member? With HospiCash 100, you can get up to 100,000 Namibian dollars cover with a 30,000 limit per event from as little as 100 Namibian dollars a month. We understand that being in hospital can be stressful. That is why with HospiCash 100, you can cover your non-medical expenses by receiving cash payouts when you are in hospital, so you can recover stress-free. Interested? SMS your name and HospiCash to 555 and we will call you back.
Now we look at Comments Corner, your daily dose of comments from our social media pages. Windhoek Mayor Dr. Job Amupanda has stated that no one will be able to hold a gun to his head during his first term in office. Amupanda added that there are those in the municipality who are using their influence to stifle his ideas and give the public the impression that he is not working. He further noted that the public believes he is in charge of all departments at the city of Windhoek and that they constantly send him issues that are meant for his office but may be meant for the finance department, which he does not directly oversee. Swazi says if he was not aware of the events, then he should instruct the CEO to rebuild the shacks. Haleni says the mayor created that impression himself, noting that he should concentrate on the city's strategic agenda as expected of him. Shimakaleni and Puya noted that blame shifting will take you nowhere. While Francis say the mayor's tone is different now that he is in office, noting that he thought the mayor had an open door policy. That is all from Comments Corner. Be sure to engage on our stories on our social media pages for broadcast only on Today on One.
Win free airtime with One Africa TV. Share your comments on the channel. WhatsApp your feedback, name and town to 081 200 6659. One Africa TV. It just gets better.
More than ever before, football fans demand unique insight and analysis. The Football Review is much more than a highlights show. Bold, provocative editorial that goes beyond conventional reporting, setting the agenda for football discussion. Champions League, Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Liga 1, and much more. Want genuine insight with hard-hitting editorial? Need compelling premium football content? The Football Review. Best, bar none.
Time now for today's sports update with Chairo Musiandaka.
Welcome to Sports on One. I'm Chairo Musiandaka. One of Namibia's biggest cycling events is less than 5 months away. Today on One Sports caught up with the Nedbank's head of communications to discuss this year's event, which is set to take place in December. Let's cross over to Castro Lumbu, who has more on this story.
Head of Communications at Nedbank Namibia, Gernot de Klerk, recently spoke to Today on One Sports as he discussed the 2021 edition of the Nedbank Desert Dash as well as new changes for this year's event. An optimistic de Klerk said that the Desert Dash will happen despite the ongoing pandemic, as he assured a safe event for the riders.
So we'll definitely keep our ears very close to the ground. And yes, as we had promised last year, if for whatever reason we're not able to host it, if we can't do so safely, then certainly that will be a consideration. What we can say that those who had entered will receive their full entry monies back. Our principal aim is to ensure that we host it. We were able to do so last year, and by all intents and purposes, we'll certainly make sure that we stay close to whatever developments are happening on the pandemic side, that the safety of our cyclists is paramount, but particularly that we're able to stay within the sporting regulations that'll still be in place and enforceable by the time the first weekend, second weekend of December arrives. So last year we had learned some very good lessons. It was the first time that we were actually hosting a mega event given what was happening around the world, and we weren't quite sure on the turnout of people, and particularly the international riders that needed to fly to Namibia to participate in what has become, I think, a world iconic sports event. But I think excellent lessons learned that we'll certainly take into this year's race, and one is cognizant of what could happen on the health front. We need to make sure that we stick to the sporting regulations, but ultimately ensure that the safety of all patrons it receives sort of foremost of our attention. And we've made a couple of changes, particularly to the starting routine, in the sense that we won't have the 4-person team start all at one go. So you'll have over 1,000 cyclists, and they all start from the Grove Mall in Windhoek, and obviously have 24 hours to get to Swakopmund. So we've changed the starting routine so that we have staggered starts, but the 4-person teams don't need all of the team members present at the start. So instead of 373 kilometers, it's now 393 kilometers that folks will get to cycle to Swakopmund. The 4-person entries are chock and block full. That sells out in a matter of minutes. So we've got about 80, and given that there are some guaranteed entries, probably about 20 or so, we'll have a full scale of 100, 128 or 120 4-person teams. About just under 200 solo entries thus far, largely male cyclists that have entered, and I think we're sitting in about 110 2-person entries. So all in all, around 850 cyclists who entered, and certainly some spots in the 2-person teams as well as in the solo categories.
The 2021 edition will be the 7th Dash Nedbank will be involved in as the main sponsor. De Klerk shared with Today on One Sports why the company has been continuously part of the event.
There's a lot to be said for cycling development in the country, and I mean Nedbank Namibia's involvement in cycling and cycling development goes back 35 years ago when we've hosted what had become known as the Nedbank Cycle Challenge, and I think we're in the 6th or 7th year into the Nedbank Desert Dash, but it's an ultimate type of event from a cycling perspective, but if one just looks at what our cyclists and the cycling discipline was able to, cyclists certainly have been able to achieve, having 4 cyclists participating as we speak at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, it shows you that the cycling development that has been ongoing has been of excellent quality, and we need to bring competitive cycling races to our country so that we make sure that our cyclists have quality opportunities to just grow their talent and make sure that they're able to compete. So great showing by our cyclists thus far at the Olympic Games, and I think we often forget that when they do get to events like the Olympic Games, we're cycling against the very best cyclists in the world, and the fact that we can hold our own speaks volume for the work that is going on behind the scenes. So I think the question that you're asking me why, I think the answer is really because it's a privilege, and we're seeing the benefits for the growth of the sport on a national level.
Entries for the 2-person team categories are still available, as well as the solo categories. Interested persons for those categories can still secure their entries online at www.today.com.na and search for the 2021 Nedbank Desert Dash. The organizers are keen to finalize entries by the end of August.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Please join us again tomorrow for Sports on One, and also follow us on our social media pages. Back to you, Maggie.
Thank you, Chiro, for the latest in sports. Time now for the weather forecast.
First, an advisory from the Windhoek Met office. Slight cooling is expected along the coast and Namib this week, becoming hot by Friday with sandstorms. The interior will be partly cloudy and mild to warm in the south, elsewhere sunny and warm but hot over the Namib Desert. The coast will be partly cloudy and warm to hot, and wind will be moderate northeasterly to southwesterly. Now let's have a look at the minimum and maximum temperatures across the country and beyond.
We have come to the end of this evening's edition of Today on One. Catch a repeat at 9:30 this evening and the Omnibus Saturdays from 9 to 4. From me, Maggie Forciero, and the rest of the team, it's good night.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUM for life. We are IUM.
Be anything, he should be everything. Strength provider, the architect of every ring. Experience penny yells, see the face of God and live.
I pray to God for my enemy. Why you ready? Why you baby? Wanna do? Insta baby, Insta baby, Insta baby. Why you sing what your mama gave ya. Everybody move what your mama gave ya. Everybody sing what your mama gave ya. Everybody move, yet lost fact.
You are now watching the V10 Countdown.
Hi beautiful souls, this is Nikita Winkler and I'm here to share easy tools for stretching that you can do just about anywhere. This is a demonstration, so what's most important is that you take the time in each position that your body needs to release its tension. In this session, we will stretch the hips. What you'll need are yoga blocks or books, thick books, or pillows, especially if you have tight hips. You can do this on a mat, on the floor, on a blanket, or even in your bed. Let's get started. So we're going to start on the floor with the soles of our feet together. I'm going to grab around the feet. This is a butterfly position. So in order to warm up the hips, I'm just going to flap the butterfly wings. And again, take your time. I'm going to lean forward. And here, again, if the hips are too tight, you can place your blocks, books, or pillows underneath. You might even feel a stretch in the back here. From this position, I'm going to take one arm right behind me, not too far from my body. The other arm, inhale, exhale, press the hip open. And come back to center. change. One arm right behind me to lengthen the spine, the other hand on the knee. Inhale, exhale, press the hip open and back to center. Now we're going to lie down on the floor. And first, before I get started, I have to make sure that my body, my spine is in alignment. I'm going to just open up the neck area. And you can spend as much time as you need here, allowing the force of gravity to weigh on the legs to open up the hips. You can place your blocks, books, or pillows underneath the knees. And gradually, you can take the feet even further down and spend enough time in each position. From here, we're going to go into an internal hip rotation. I'm going to spread my feet to the side, lean the knees inwards. If you have a little bit more flexibility, you don't really feel the stretch, just take your feet even further apart to deepen this internal rotation stretch in your hips. From here, I'm just going to place my feet, and without repositioning the feet, I'm going to take my arms to the side, and then I'm just going to rock my legs side to side, keeping the upper body facing up, shoulders down. And then I'm going to stop on one side, take the lower leg over the upper to add weight to deepen the stretch. Release the leg and switch. Other side, lower over the upper. And back to center. Last part, I'm going to spread my legs as wide open as I can, and I'm going to just row the boat. So what's important here is that the knees don't lift off the floor. Make sure you row both sides. Keep the knees and both bum cheeks on the floor. Alternatively, you can just lean forward. You can hang out on the pillow. Take your time on the blocks or on your books. And that is it. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to breathe into your stretches, and happy stretching.
A very big hello to you, ladies. It's great to be with you on the show again.
Yes.
Welcome to Living the Life. Marriage is where the work really is.
That's the main.
So no matter how exhausted the event planner is after, oh my God, I did such a beautiful wedding. She did the wedding. That's not the work.
You understand?
The work is the couple now.
The uterus begins to shrink back to its normal size. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for it to get down to below the umbilicus level, and 4 to 6 weeks if you're breastfeeding. So that's another incentive to breastfeed.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yes.
You're wondering, love, what does it really mean? Someone is telling you, I love you, but if you love me, show me that you love me.
Investing in marriage takes a real hard work. It's not something that you just wake up and feel like, no, because I married my best friend. It's not automatic that the marriage is going to work.
We know the world is a crazy place right now, but don't panic. Take a breath, slow down, or better yet, stop completely. We'll still be here when everything settles down. In this time of uncertainty, look to nature. She has all the answers, you know. We're not only giving ourselves time to reset, we're giving nature time to restore, revive, restart. We're saving ourselves and we're saving the world. Stay home now so that we can welcome you to Namibia again soon. Yes, the world's a crazy place right now, but don't despair. Find the joy, cherish hope, breathe. Take a moment, take a few, and someday soon you'll once again be able to stare in wonder at this magnificent view. The world's a crazy place right now, but don't worry, we'll still be here. We'll see you again soon.